Good morning and welcome to BOTB HQ in Parsons Green, South West London. My name is Christian Williams, a presenter here at BOTB, and we're here this morning to judge the latest midweek car competition, which ran from the 18th to the 24th of February 2021. And just before I hand over to the lawyer this morning, once again, a massive congratulations to last week's winner of the midweek car competition, Adrian Vincal, winning that unbelievable BMW X1 plus £30,000. I'd now like to pass over to Robin Cumming from Onside Law, who will oversee the proceedings this morning.
My name's Robin Cumming from Onside Law, and I'll be overseeing the judging process this morning. Firstly, I can confirm that the competition data has already been sent to the auditors as is. I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name is Matt Cannon. I'm a senior county referee and footballer and looking forward to our playing in the near future.
My name is Chloe Morgan and I'm a goalkeeper for Crystal Palace Women.
I'm Nigel Hicks. I've been a Supplier League match official for the best part of 30 years and I'm an experienced football administrator.
Good morning, my name is Roger Wheeler. I'm a referee and I've been refereeing and lining for more than 30 years.
Hi, my name is Matthew Ray. I've affiliated in multiple counties across England, currently in Gloucestershire, and have refereed from grassroots through to professional academies.
Hi, my name is Eric Mendonca. I've been involved in football for over 30 years, firstly as a player and then as a referee.
Good morning, my name's Hugh Gilroy. I'm a referee, a mentor, a tutor and observer.
Good morning, my name's Peter Giorgio and I am a futsal and football referee.
Good morning, my name is Alain Goma. I'm an ex-professional football player, having played for Paris Saint-Germain, Newcastle and Fulham.
Good morning, my name is Leo Donnellan. I'm an ex-professional football player, having been with Chelsea, Fulham and Leyton Orient.
Judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 10 individual selections.
Thanks very much, Robin. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Matt.
Morning.
We've got quite a narrow spread across the page, but we've got quite a large spread from right to left. I will draw some lines up from the player in blue to start. We've got quite a good view of his eye. That's up to Nigel. And then across over to here through Peters. So that's a big spread. And then from the player in red, I'll take it from his forehead. We've got really a fairly narrow spread, and it's just really the height. I mean, of the two players in shot, the player in blue is on the ground, but from my looking at it and looking up towards the ball. And I thought the player in red and with black shorts had actually headed the ball. His head is sort of slightly forward and his neck is sort of down and he's up. And I thought that looking at his eye, he was slightly looking up as opposed to heading. And I believe he'd headed the ball. So he's headed it sort of across, quite a powerful header. But that's how I've seen it. Ari, I'll come to you first. If I highlight yours, you're just over here on the left side. If I put your the highlighter of the ball, and so how did you see this, and your thoughts on the photograph and what's happened?
Yes, my first impression it was exactly the same as yours. I felt that the player in red in black, he headed the ball. If you wouldn't mind, just put one eye line in from the player in blue through the crosses in the center, where to the average per se, exactly.
Yeah, through these sort of 6 choices here. Yeah,
that was the take that I used for the eye line in the player in blue. I felt he's looking in an angle of 45 degrees. And the ball is about to pass in front of him. Yeah, and that was my take.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously how I would have done it as well, looking up from this player in blue, and I think we've agreed there. I mean, Matthew, I'll come to you now. You're up here highlighted on that same line that Ari's asked to draw in, and you're just next to me. Any difference in how you see the shot, or are you in agreement with what we've said?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think the ball's above the player in red, which is why I've gone higher than horizontal, if you like. I think he has played the ball. I think he's headed it on. You can tell that by his body shape. And for me, there's a nice clear eye, albeit only one on the player in blue. And I think that's looking, yeah, as Ari said, 40 degrees or just slightly lower than 45 degrees. But that intersection has given me that cross.
Yeah, okay. So there's me and you up here in agreement and how we've seen it. And I'll take you next, Chloe, because you're down next to Ari's choice to see how you've thought about what's happening in the photo and where the ball is.
Yeah, so I thought obviously in terms it was quite an advantageous photo, I suppose. We've got two quite clear pictures of the eyes from the blue and the red player. I read the situation as being that the red player had, like you said, the ball, and that the blue player wasn't sort of near enough to that to kind of affect it in any way. And it was just kind of watching. But I took the red player's eye line to be more or less horizontal, straight across the screen. And again, I think like Ari mentioned, that the blue player's eye line to be sort of a 45-degree angle, which still seems to be maybe the main angle between us all.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I think also with the player in blue being sort of quite static, it's not as though he's sort of, he's just watching the ball as opposed to challenging for the ball. So I'll go straight out to you, Nigel. You're the furthest to the left by quite a bit.
Yeah.
How have you seen this?
Yeah, morning, everyone. Yeah, so, I mean, a couple of things for me. I agree with what my colleagues have said. The player in red is hanging, possibly has headed the ball. I felt he headed it pretty much on the horizontal plane to where he is now. But moreover, for me, the player in blue, I feel is looking around, almost starting to look behind him. His body's turning. So I think, in this case, it's a 3D picture. The player in red and the ball are nearer to us than the player in blue. But also I felt with the player in blue's eyes, I could see the white on the underside of his eyes. His eyebrow was raised so that, he had a view of the ball looking up. And hence I felt it was more of a steep angle. Clearly I'm an outlier to the judges overall. I'm just surprised how much, really.
Yeah.
Given the white we can see under his eyes.
Yeah, no, thank you very much indeed for that. Ala, you're again slightly over to the left here. Highlight yours here. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, no, I agree with what's been said. I think that the player on the right in red is up in the air, is headed the ball. You can see by his body shape, and he's looking slightly above horizontal. Now, with the player in blue, I agree with Nigel. I think if you put the magnifier, you can see a bit of white in his eye, and also he's frowning. I think he's turning his head and looking at where the ball is going, and that's the reason why I went slightly steeper than you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. And now I'll come to the other side, the furthest right, which is you, Peter. I'll just magnify yours there and then put the ball. But did you see this any differently from the rest of us with looking at the player as red actually has already headed the ball, or do you agree with that?
No, I thought he hadn't headed the ball. Yeah, I thought the way he was tensed up and the way you frown, he's tensed up to receive, and he's actually going into the ball. So that's why I've got it further to the right than everybody else, and that's how I saw that. And then using the player on the blue on the left, looking slightly further up, looking up. So I thought he was going into the ball. His arms there. It could be either way, but that's how I took it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much indeed. And Roger, you're just to the left and a little bit above Peter. Have you seen it in the same way that he's headed the ball before, or not quite headed it?
I saw it, Matt, in similar to Peter. The thing I would say is that the guy in red if you look, his ankle seems to be roughly at the level of the blue guy's shirt. So he's got quite a leap there, and I just felt, therefore, you know, he was very close to heading the ball. And yeah, he's got the frown on, so I had him just about to head the ball.
Yeah,
it was sort of his optimum height position, I felt.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then I'll come to the two that are closest to this calculated average now. And Hugh, you're just here to the left of the calculated average. If I highlight yours, have you seen it as do you believe the red player's headed the ball or is about to head the ball?
Yeah, I felt he'd played it already and was kind of just looking above horizontal.
Yeah,
kind of almost in line with his forehead. I agree. I think it's a powerful header. And yeah, for me, that player in blue is looking exactly on that kind of middle line you've drawn, not too steeply, not too kind of shallow.
Yeah, no, thank you. And lastly, Leo, you're just here. I'll highlight yours.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, no, I think the player in red has headed the ball. I think his body shape, for me, sort of tells me that he has. If you look at his sort of neck and his head, for me, he's headed it, and his head is forward,
and that's given the power to the header.
Yeah. So he's completed the header, and I think the player in blue, I think he's looking quite steeply, but obviously a little bit forward of his eye line. You know, so just about both eye lines, Matt.
No, thank you. So how I see this is we have 8 of us who believe that the red players headed the ball, and justifiably Peter and Roger don't think the players headed the ball. So as a panel decision of what you've all judged at, I'm going to remove Peter and Roger's choices to start with, and then I want a little bit more debate about Nigel and Alain's. There's a little bit further out, and if I removed these two, it sort of comes. It's not dissimilar to keeping everybody in. It sort of sits in. Oh, sorry, I haven't put Peter's back in. It sits pretty much. I just have to see that on the blue line. Okay, if I remove Peter, Roger, Nigel, and
apparently it looks
ever so slightly higher than it was before, which I think is because of the two of Aries and Chloe's at the bottom and myself and Matthew's at the top. So really, with from what we've judged, saying that we believe the red players headed the ball from a majority of 8-2, I'm going to remove Roger and Peter, and it's really whether we remove both Alain and Nigel's again to get the calculated average in the mix of this. I wouldn't say a cluster, a line of choices up, and I think that's for me is the best way forward. And I know we're removing in that sense 4 judges, but I think with the 2 removed because of the majority panel decision that the player in red's headed the ball, we're really just down to these next 8. So Chloe, can I have your vote? And obviously it's not this, it might be a little bit more of a debate than yes or no. And if you could add anything to what I've said that would be helpful, that would be great as well. So to remove Nigel and Alain and go with this new calculated average.
I think I would probably vote to remove Nigel and Alain. I think if we're going to remove the 2 to the right hand side, it sort of makes it more balanced to remove 2 to the left hand side. And I think given that there's 6 very sort of quite clear views on that particular line, that's very narrow, that band that we now have. I think that would make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Chloe. Nigel?
I'd vote to remove all 4 because I think with myself and Alain still included, it skews the average away from that centre line that the other 6 are based on. Therefore, I think it takes away from the consensus view. And I think also myself and Alain, with the other 2 already removed, myself and Alain are too much of outliers to be included this week.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And I will clarify what I've said is that I have removed the 2 on the right already, and it's just really whether to keep Nigel and Alan in as opposed to the 4. But I totally understand what you're saying. So Roger.
Yeah, I agree with Nigel. I think you are obviously right to remove the 2 on the right-hand side, and I think you've got the 6, and then there would be 2 outliners, as Nigel said. So yeah, I go with just leaving the 6, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, I agree with removing Nigel and Alan as well, because for me it's a case of the debate around the blue players' eye line. And I think there's too many of us really along this eye line to justify pulling it the distance it would be to the left. So I think it's a more balanced view to go with this average as you've got on the screen.
Yeah, no, thank you. And obviously we've all agreed with this 6 that he's headed the ball. So it's the power of the header really I believe it justifies the spread up and down, because it can be, it can be a bullet header, or he might have fluffed the header, but it's all going in that direction. But anyway, Ari.
Yes, I agree with all of you removing the 4 crosses.
Yeah, great, thank you. Hugh, obviously your choice is bang next to the calculated average.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that the key bit is that 6 on that line of the blue player is consistent enough to need to stay there.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Without.
Thank you. Alain?
Yeah, no, I think I agree. We got 6 crosses on the same line. I think it makes sense to remove both on the right and both on the left. Yeah.
Lovely. And lastly, Leo, you're getting very close to this average.
Yeah, I would have kept them in, Matt. Just simply that I think the player in blue is looking steeply, so they could be there.
Yeah,
I think the 2 crosses to the right. I don't think the player in blue is looking in that direction. So
okay.
I will keep them in.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Robin, after a good debate, we've decided to judge at the average with Nigel, Roger, Peter and Alain removed by a sort of quite big majority.
Thanks, Matt. If you're all happy, then please click submit. Thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are 1934976. These coordinates will now be passed to the auditors as ASETs to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you.